So Enlisted has just dropped their dev server and it's pretty significant. First of all, we have a lot of new weapons and a lot of new fixes. And of course, I will be doing a video for all of those weapons and all of those fixes, which is that video right now, the fixes, and what I think Enlisted has done to improve the game. Of course, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the new weapons, soldiers, fixes, patches for the Tigers of Burma update and what we can see. So without further ado, let's get started. In short, some of the new weapons include the Hyde N1944 for the USA at tier 5, the T24 USA at tier 5, the Thompson 7.63 which is the premium, the RPB Z43 for the United States with their own gas mask apparently, and the T4 for the Japanese at tier 4, and for the Germans we have the MG42-100 at tier 5 for the Germans. That said, that is where I'll end the weapons and soldiers section because I'll be doing a video for each and one of them, so be on the lookout for that. But let's add and discuss what Enlisted has done to change the game. For the first thing they have done is that when you drop bombs, apparently they implemented separate bomb drops and rocket launch for aircraft, meaning if you have two 100-kilogram bombs, which is the case on some Japanese and even some Italian planes, you can decide to drop them separately, which is actually, if you ask me personally, I actually think that's a much better idea, and I actually do love the idea, so that's great. They've also changed a few stuff here and there, and honestly, if you ask me, I think it's a very good update from what we have, and overall, in general reality, this is something that I do think Enlisted is going to be getting a lot of new buffs for, and what's more is that there is a new map and location which I'll put a video up about again too, so I'm pretty busy this week. But what I think about this patch and what I think about this upcoming update, and that is pretty dang simple. I do think that the Americans are getting a lot of buffs, which is great. The Soviets are getting a new plane, but the main focus here is going to be the United States and the Japanese. For one, the United States is going to be getting a lot of weapons that can actually compete with the STG-44 and the German heavy tanks, i.e. the Tiger II-H, which is great. They also do have a German anti-tank rocket launcher, which I don't personally suggest that's a good idea, but if Enlisted does that, it will be, well, just doing that. For the Germans, they have the MG42-100, which is, although not a buff, it is something that I've been waiting for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for a long time, and whatnot. It's just a better weapon, in my personal opinion, than the MG15, so that's that. And of course, it has a 100-round belt, so that's amazing. But the main game changer here is the Americans. I do actually think that the Americans are probably one of the better factions. I would not say they're as good as the Germans, mainly because the fact that the Germans have a lot of good players, but on the other hand, I do think that the Americans have gotten a much needed buff, and I do think that much needed buff is going to make the Americans either slightly overpowered, or I think the Americans are going to be doing very well in the future. From what I think, the United States is probably going to be moved to top 3 in terms of tech trees to play, of course, and whereas Japan and Germany will still be number 1 and number 2, Germany being number 1, and of course now the Soviet Union is officially at the bottom. That said, what I think about that meaning is that more on the lines of players. Once again, Enlisted needs much more players because all that balancing I just said with the new edition, there's not a lot of point if you have no players playing the game, and if all your players are playing with bolt-action rifles against STG-44s, or you have players on one side and bots on the other. That's just going to be a stomp. Needless to say, I do think Enlisted needs a lot of new players, which I hopefully think they should fix in the next update. But I do think this is a very great update for the United States, mainly because the Americans are getting their well-deserved buffs. So that's that. Without further ado, stay in tune for my videos about the individual weapons and vehicles, which there are unfortunately a lot, and very fun vehicles might I add. So that's that. Without further ado, have a great day guys, and stay tuned for those videos.